Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Neverdot. Today is Halloween, or tomorrow is Halloween, or it's already Halloween. So, too late for that. Look, I've got Bumpy the Pumpkin, and he's with me today, and he's going to help me look at how I draw the comic for this week. And it's the Halloween comic, a lot of darkness in this comic, and a lot of different styles. So come with me behind the scenes to see how I do a comic each week for Neverdot. Let's go! Now, I skipped the part where I'm just thinking of the idea because that takes forever and it's usually the longest part of the comic. Just coming up with something funny. Usually can't do that, so then I go for something interesting to look at. Often recently I've been sort of inspired by Exocomics, Li Chen, and her comics actually, a lot of the time they're not inherently funny, but they're more really, really cute, and the cuteness is what makes it funny and cute and adorable. And I don't know, I just really appreciate that she can pull off such an amazing work with just really playing with her characters and seeing what they would do in a different situation. And it's just wonderful. So I've been trying to not stress out so much about getting a good punchline and more about just what would these characters do in this situation. So here we have the guys going out for Halloween, as I was fully expecting them to do, although I kind of like last year's comic where I had them fleeing the dragon, and I kind of would like to do another attempt at that kind of scene, but didn't really want to repeat it exactly this year. So here we're going to have them wandering the streets, and sort of the idea of the comic, if you haven't already read the comic, it's posted online. It's just that they're wandering around and, you know, they're just getting candy, and as we know, every year the dragons want to steal all the candy. Dragons in this world are ravenous for candy, but they do want them to get candy so they can steal it. There is thrill in the hunt for the dragons. So it's not just about hoarding the candy. Here we have Dragon pathetically hiding behind a garbage can. Can't see him because he's hiding behind a garbage can, obviously. And then the last panel, the punchline here is just that we've got, you know, usually you have these tiny buckets for carrying your pumpkin candy in, Halloween candy. And, you know, it gets heavy, so you get your mom or whatever to carry a big sack, a pillowcase, whatever, of the main candy stash. So you can just refill your bucket because it gets heavy, you know. Parents, you know, what else are they going to do? They're not Halloweening. So he passes it off to probably somebody that's not his mother. Here we have see Logan in the final panel, and I really like expanding the story of the world through those little vignettes. In there we had Logan exchanging insurance with one of the mushrooms in an actual car. Because the mushrooms in this world are highly technologically advanced compared to the rest of the species. And usually they're running around in cars when everybody else is walking around. And I don't think there's any horse-drawn carriages. I don't know if there's horses in this world, actually. Probably because I don't want to draw them. Not that there's anything wrong with drawing them. So here we see the dragon poking out of the mother costume, which is totally obvious. I was trying to actually make it more obvious, so I had to move one of the tentacles so you could see the guy's feet. And I was trying to decide, do I have claws on these things or not? Because often when I'm drawing cute things, claws detracts from the cuteness and makes it more scary. But for dragons, I kind of want them to have a bit of an edge, so I am adding claws to these guys. So I'm going to actually have to go back and re-add the claws. You'll see that later. Here we have, there's Ashley in a Wonder Woman costume, or my best remembering of a Wonder Woman costume. I didn't pull up a reference, partially to avoid copyright infringement problems. We'll just leave it as some random W. It could be the World Wrestling Federation. Now, you're probably wondering why Casper is wearing a sun hat. It's not a sun hat. He's dressed up as Saturn. So that'll become clear when I paint it. He's got a flashlight because he's going to need to shine the flashlight in the second panel. And I have to remember continuity, so he needs to be holding that flashlight in every panel. The details for me are quite important because I like for people to explore the panels, but then also notice that things do carry through from one panel to the next. That's important for me. Don't follow the candy though, because I was kind of stressing about the candy. Like, I have got to remember to have the right number of lollipops and chocolate bars in each panel. But then I was like, that's going to take another 2 hours to do that. So I forgot the accounting for the candy and it's just assumed to be piling up between the panels as they go to more houses. So that does change and whatever. It's fine. The couple weeks ago I did the pumpkins, and I redesigned the pumpkins this year because when I first drew the pumpkins, I never liked the lines of the pumpkins, the grooves, because they got in the way of the face and everything, and it made it too rough looking. But it also looked too simple the way I was doing it before, with just a circle and with the grooves sort of painted in. So this year I've compromised by not quite finishing the grooves in the middle where they would interfere with the face. They just sort of fade out, and I'll emphasize that with shading, and it looks really good. I really liked how it turned out like a couple of weeks ago, where the pumpkins are sort of jumping through the meadow to meet Charlie. So you might want to go have a look at that. That's one of my favorite ones, even though the comic itself, maybe whatever, the joke, there's no joke there. It's just them exploring their world. But I really liked how those little cute pumpkins sort of popped out of it. And sorry, I'm just bringing that back, because Halloween is a day in this world for the pumpkins to join them. I think pumpkins hibernate during the rest of the year because they're not visible anytime else, and I think their intelligence is just a little bit lower. They're probably more intelligent than monkeys, but not as intelligent as people. So they have this cute intelligence. They're probably like toddlers level wise, so it's fun to have them around. But definitely they have to go back to sleep after Halloween is done. Whereas the cranberry, after Thanksgiving, sticks around because Ashley is super smart. She goes to school with the rest of them. Now here we have the hand, and that hand looks terrible, but I'm going to leave it because I'm not going to fuss too much about it. But I do need to add the claws because those hands look a little creepy. They look like human hands a little bit too much. I do like the claws on the head of this dragon. It's a nice enhancement. And the dragons in this world are also more spiky. Their heads are more angular, and their different species have different ornamentation about the crests of their heads. I will eventually someday have to remember who has which, because I haven't really defined these species down that tightly. It's fun in the comics just to explore. Part of the comics point is also to sort of expand the world through exploration. So I try new ideas sometimes, and if something comes out really nicely, I stick with it, and it keeps coming back. Here we have poor Logan, and his candy has spilled in a horrible accident. Might have been driving a Tesla, a self-driving cardboard car that he is. Dracula, I think this is Brock, not Jenny. Brock and Jenny look identical because, I don't know, the vegetables, I can't tell them apart. Some of the vegetables are distinguished by the number of veins on their leaves, but not Brock and Jenny. They're pretty much identical. I decide later if I want one or the other to be in the shots. But Brock hasn't gotten a lot of screen time recently, so I figured Jenny's out with Ashley down the street. Or she's too old to be trick-or-treating, one or the other, but you're never too old to trick-or-treat. Just don't do it early in the night if you're too old. We expect the teens to clean up the dregs of the candy that we don't want to eat ourselves. The good stuff I'm keeping, though. This guy on the roof, he's not on a building that's drawn, so I'm going to have to... I'm intending to paint the background because I don't want to ink it all in, because that's a bit too much detail and it becomes too clear if I'm fudging it. Yeah, here I'm fixing all those claws. And I've got to fatten up the flesh around the claw so it doesn't look like I just drew a line, which I did. And yeah, I'm also trying to shorten the gap between the fingers because dinosaurs have separated toes, but the dragons should have more webby kind of hands and feet. So I have to pull in the gap between the fingers to keep that distinction of species down, because otherwise it gets confusing as to what's a dragon and what's a dinosaur and what's a monster. There aren't any monsters in this area that I'm aware of. It's a very domestic section of town. I think it's Tibney. Yeah, Tibney is the town they're in. And I had to pull up copies. Those are two copies of the comic from a couple weeks ago that I did, that I told you that is got the cute pumpkins. So just as a color reference, because I want the exact same color. I don't want to guess because I don't know, even the intensity or the contrast of the color is important for consistency. Now the lighting in this comic is going to be pushed off to the blue spectrum because it's going to be dark. But I'm drawing it at proper color levels. Like these are supposed to be the true colors. Then when I apply shading to it, that pushes them off their normal coloring. So like if I had a red lit scene, I would have to overlay a red tint that shifts it from these colors. So I would use the software to do that. I'm not going to try to guess as to how the tones are shifted. I'm not that good at guesstimating how colors shift under different colors. It would just look awkward and wrong, probably. I don't know if those are the right Wonder Woman colors. Probably not. I'm also keeping quite a brown theme with Logan there. I didn't go for any kind of contrasting things there. Might be a bad idea. Probably would have been better to have at least the hat contrasting heavily with the body. But no. And again, the wings for the pumpkin, should they be pure white? Not really. Again, nothing should be the pure color that you're expecting it to be. And the edges of the cardboard tires, I figure he didn't paint. So they're brown, not black. Because they're not actually rubber. They're just cardboard. Pro tip. Oh, here we go. This is the Jupiter costume. So drawing the random lines. I should have put the hexagons on the head, but you can't really see it. So at least the red spot is there, which is fading. And I was thinking I should put moons in there, but I don't know. Maybe I should have had one of the P guys be Titan. That would have been cool, but too late now. And I just, in the last panel, I sort of jammed my pumpkin guy. Just, you can see him kind of poking out of the panel. I just wanted him there because I was going to have him doing something in the foreground, but that got a little bit busy. So no need for him everywhere all the time. Brock was half a panel off screen and the other one. Just here we go with our candies. No particular branding. I don't know what the brands of candy are called in this universe. And the mothers are red. If you got my second book has the is it the second book? It's the third book. My third book has the mother featured in one page. So she's kind of a red. Now, I think the octopi actually changed based on their emotions. So she was a little bit annoyed. Maybe she's always a little bit annoyed. Or afraid. One or the other. I think they go black when they're afraid. And I remember I have to sketch in the mother in the middle shot, which I didn't draw. And I didn't want her too obvious. I wanted that form sort of amorphous, because if I got too detailed, I'd have to draw in the feet and the head, and you'd know it was not an octopus for reals. And here we got the nice guy. Now I need a bit more detail, because he's a bit too simplistic there. I didn't like that, so I just want to touch him up with a bit more cultural details, just to distinguish them again. And dragons, if I haven't told you before, I distinguish the different species of things with their eyes a bit. So dragons have always got a color in their eye, which nothing else has. So if you see something with color in its eye, it's a dragon type species. If it's got the two sort of light spots in its eye and just pure black, then it's a normal vegetable animal kind of thing. If it's got three light spots in its eyes, well then, that's from somewhere else. And no spots just means it's not alive. It's probably a robot. Or something else. Now we're into the painting section. So typically my sidewalks always have this sort of circly dot pattern that comes from the books. I'm trying to keep consistency there. And, you know, this is my brush that I sort of borrowed from... Name is escaping me, but it's from another creator. And I just changed it a bit so that it alters the, you know, the tonality and a little bit, yeah, mostly just the tonality of the splotches, so that I don't have a solid green. It sort of wiggles around and gives a bit of texture. I'm not going to put too much effort into the houses because I was drawing this super late at night and I wanted to get it done before midnight, which I failed because I was trying to do this video more complicated. I'll do that next time. Want to do it like a real-time thing so I can talk to you guys as I'm thinking about the comic and working it through in my head, so you can get a sense of how I develop it that way. But in this case, you know, just doing this. I really like putting these trees in the backgrounds because it adds a lot of free sort of detail to the scene that feels good, and I don't have to put much detail because usually the trees can just be silhouettes because they're far away, can't really get much detail off them, just the trunks. I've got a little leaf brush that I can spray on top of it, but here it's kind of getting into autumn, so there's no leaves, but that's good because the canopy's off the side. Now this is the best part of this. I've already overlaid a blue, just general atmospheric tint, so it shifts everything down to the blue, darkness, and then you're already in the darkness, and then from there I add another layer that is here, the flashlight light. So I'm just sort of spraying it everywhere. I've got two groups, the background group and the foreground character group. In Krita, you can limit a layer to not going beyond its, you know, opacity. So as I'm spraying, it's not going outside the bounds of the characters. Whereas if I switch, which I just did there, to the background layer, then it can go everywhere. So I'm doing that, and then I get a nice sort of free ability to sort of have it underneath the characters where it should be because it's on the ground, and then just sort of erase it in sections where it shouldn't be, so I get that nice dragon cutting it off because he's a little bit very plainly visible with his feet sticking out. but still he can't be seen because, you know, they're not that smart. I don't know. They're not expecting to see dragons in the alleyway. But this is something that I did a lot in the third book, which is just having dark scenes. But dark scenes that you can't just have a dark scene and not see anything. So you need to light it up with various light sources. And those light sources are providing accents to the shape so you can get an idea of the silhouettes with where it's hitting the edges of the character. And I really like how these kind of scenes turn out because I'm not doing my hard edge shadows, which I do like, but the soft edge sort of spray look, it really, it's nice. I can't use it all the time because I feel it also looks cheap if you overuse it. Spray fills I don't like at all because, yeah, it just looks like cheap painting. It's not, I like textures. So again, Li Chen with Exocomics, all her color work, even her black and white work, is all very textured because it's done in pencil. And I don't know how she does her digital painting, digital coloring, but it's fantastic. I encourage you to check out exocomics.com. It's a great comic, my favorite really. And so that's why I don't like spray fills. They're too smooth, too simple, and it's a little bit too easy. I liked it when I was a kid, and I thought it was the best thing ever, and it made me look super professional, and then I now realize it doesn't. It does the opposite. It looks bad. So I either stick with flat coloring shading, which I feels it looks cartoony, and it's achieving the look that I want in daytime. But in this environment, the shadows like this are nice. Now here's where I switch into Illustrator to do all the sort of text. And here you get to see how I sort of work through what am I trying to say. I kind of knew what I wanted them to say, like, oh, careful guys, you don't want to get your candy stolen. Dragons are the masters of disguise. Here, Mom, hold my candy. So how much do I want to explain of what's going on? Let's just get in the basics, like, hey, Mom, and then split it out. I try to not have big paragraphs of text, break it up into many separate blocks because people, I think, find it easier to just parse smaller chunks of text. And if they see a big blob of text, it's just like, no, I'm not reading that. That's ridiculous. I'm not. No essays. That's too long. I'm not going to keep that. That's insane. I have to keep rewording that. I want enough detail so you understand why he's passing it off. Does everybody do this for Halloween? I don't know. Maybe you don't. Maybe it's just me. So maybe you can't relate. That's, I feel, too much text. And the problem is that last panel ends on a non-funny line. Really, it's just, hey, Mom, can you take my candy? And then the reader sees that it's not his mom, so that's the funny thing. But if he goes on and just keeps explaining it, that's not funny. On the left, I'm trying to explain it in more detail. It's a bit too much text. I'm probably going to need to break it. That I also want to explain a bit more that, you know, dragons are masters of disguise. We couldn't see them maybe even if we're looking at them or something like that. Or good thing I brought my, that's boring. I'm not going to keep that. That one is kind of, that works in the line. Now, maybe it's not needed. Another thing I learned from Li Chen is that more words is worse. So the less you say, the better, because you guys can figure out what's going on. You don't need me to spoon feed it to you. Nobody hand spoon feeds people. Anyways, yeah, I do find, yeah, the less text, the better. It is funnier. You get more reward out of it, figuring it out yourself. And I don't know, if I'm going to put something in now, it's more for world building. That one is kind of rare. I don't usually split a sentence in half like that, but I didn't want it all together like it was, and it was sort of bumping into some background art that I wanted to keep visible. That little thing in the shadows there. I draw the bubbles in bright red so that I can see where they are and then just fill it later. I really like in Krita how I can just fill it without and ignore the background sometimes, so that's handy. I also, as you probably notice, I fill colors based on who's speaking. Color is taken from their dominant color, so the pumpkin's a bit orange, Casper is a bit purple, so you can sort of tie in whose bubble goes with who, even though it should be easy based on the little lines, but it's just a little bit of visual laziness to let you follow who's saying who, especially if they're sort of winding together. And then you can more easily scan the comic if you see who's talking. And I wanted that bush more in the background because it was standing out too much. And I also don't like how I don't have any background people on the street. So I'm going to sort of paint in a few just quickly. I initially used a brush to do it, and I realized that's a mistake because it's leaving too much brushiness, and these characters are not supposed to be painty. So I switched to my normal pen. This is the character from last week, I think. I just wanted some continuity there because people might be wondering what happened to the cat. And I don't think I've named that beat yet. I better do it because Rachel, is it Rachel? Has taken a vacation for a while. Yeah, we've got another carrot. It's probably not. Actually, that looks like somebody from Five Nights at Freddy's. That's fine. That's fine. And 2 of the peas, because again, one of the peas is on vacation. That's Anthony, the octopus, if you remember him from a while ago. He's a Cyberman, I think. And then let's get in, yeah, my own personal preferences. I don't need to shove it on you guys, but that looks like a Dalek. Yes, Dalek. Hey, Doctor Who is great. I like Doctor Who. Now, a downside of all these things is that they're blocking the light and the light's not responding to them at all. So, you're going to have to go into the light layer and start clearing it out so that they're actually there. And then I really like how just erasing around them like that is providing me so much sort of free work. I'm not painting the shadows, I'm erasing the shadows or creating the shadows through erasure, and it just, I don't know, it looks really nice. Just that falls away like that. It's really rewarding. And I'm also doing 2 directions because you have multiple light sources, so you should have multiple weak shadows on different sides. Now I did forget to highlight one side of Brock there. He should have a little bit of blue light on him. Got to do a little fixing because I also overpainted on the Saturn Jupiter rings. I was trying not to say Saturn. I know which one is which. And I also needed to fix, yeah, Tommy's car because it's actually a real car. So I need to add lights, turn on the lights so you know it's a real vehicle and not just a toy vehicle, because mushrooms drive actual real vehicles. He's old enough to drive. He's like 3. They age faster. They're really smart by the age of 3. And we got to get some ground lighting on there. Not too intense like that. It needs to be faded off a bit, so, and not yellow, so that it's not too intense. I had a bit of a problem getting it to fade right, so I was figuring out, does it fade from the edges or does it fade? It fades with distance, so we'll erase it like that. And also brake lights, because his brakes are kind of on, because he's just, I know he's probably got his double blinkers on. Whatever. Anyways, that's the comic. Oh yeah, I need to highlight the trash can a little bit because I want the light emphasizing all the funny bits there. And it took me way too long to figure out the texture and what would actually be hit by light here. Whatever. I'm eventually going to erase all of that. Eventually. No. Yeah, no. That would not be visible. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Just erase it. No, you're not happy with that. Okay, anyways, wrap it up. Wrap it up. I'm a very perfectionist. I don't like things that are a little bit off. It bothers me. So, anyways, that's this week's comic, Halloween. Really love Halloween. Most creative season of the year. The next one, Christmas. So, Christmas is a happy season. I can do all the cute stuff again, more so. But here I can unleash the darkness, which is just fun. So, I hope you enjoyed this, and let's get out of here. Wait. The wall was a bit too flat and simple. It needs to be a bit textured with rocks and stuff. There we go. Much better. Well, I hope you liked watching me draw the comic this week. It was fun showing around that and talking about it. I do hope to do it in the future, maybe like a real-time recording, something that I should probably just do on Twitch. But I don't think I have a viewership big enough to pull that off. So I'll maybe just post it, and it will be really, really long because it takes like 3 hours or more to do these. Thank you, computer. So I will see you guys next time. Bye.
I'm Bumpy the Pumpkin, and I'm truly never not know. You'd better subscribe and like and comment. Negative comments give better results. More likely to get a response if you post something negative. See you.
Happy Halloween, everyone. Try to stay out of trouble. Get your costumes in order and don't put a mask over your face that's too tight. It doesn't allow candy reception. And get a large bag, an infinite bag, because you need to get all the candy in the world. Have a good night.